Where'd you grow up, man?
I grew up in LA. The area's called West Adams. The same gang's always been there since like the 60s and late 50s, you know, the same neighborhood.
And what gang is that?
Harpies.
Mm-hmm.
So like the new generation came in, which was dead end. That's my generation. I think like the end of the 80s, it picked up like gang violence, you know, and you know, some kids, they don't have no parents, but like I have parents, you know, but for some reason that's like it becomes like your second family. And since you're from there, it almost makes you feel like you need to be part of that. And like I've been pulled away from it like in different instances in my life, but I always would make my way back to it.
Can you explain that?
Well, like when I was younger, I remember my dad had went up north or whatever, like Northern California, and they tried to send me out there, you know, like to get us away from it. Next thing you know, I'm in a juvenile hall with her for like almost a year.
Up north?
Up north, and then the minute I'm out, I get a Greyhound ticket back to LA. And I remember this is the old Greyhound station right in downtown where it was, I think
7th Street.
Is that where it was at?
7th and 9th Street.
That's where it's at right now though. Before it was like,
no, it was like off of Broadway right there.
yeah, and it was like a whole like
yeah.
It's
Upstairs
big. Yeah, it was upstairs. Yup.
Yeah.
Ghetto as fuck, like grimy as fuck. I remember I show up like fresh out of like Juvenile Hall with like a duffel with some money in my pocket, and like I'm back in LA, late night, little kid on the taxi. Even later in my life when I was gone for all those years, I just was like long to be in the hood, you know, like I thought I did until I came back and I was like, man, shit changed on me. You know, it didn't feel the same to me, you know, because, well, the same faces, they're not there no more. There's new faces. And, you know, it's that energy. It kind of like shifted on me a little bit, you know, and when that happens, you got to play catching up.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you play that catching up, you're going to get wrapped up in the catching up.
You know, it's crazy that you said that you chose to come back, you know, because the notion that the world get is that you forced into that stuff, man, you know. And like I said myself, you know, it was something I chose because of all the love that I got, you know, from my folks there, man. It was family orientated, and my father wasn't around much, you know, and to just get that love from, you know, other homies like that, man, you know, it's just something you choose to do, man. You know, do you feel the same way or you feel different about it?
Because it was similar for you, right? I mean, you went away, you went up, you were in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Like you went up and then you came back. I mean, what is that draw? I mean, when you're coming back, are you saying, I want to be in the neighborhood, I want to get back with the people and this get like try to explain that to people who have no idea.
You know, it's crazy because this is saying that you could take the homie out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the homeboy. And that's how it is, man. You know your roots, man, you know, and you bounce out of town, they could take you to, you know, because they sent me out of town to stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, and I went out of town, I played ball, I did all that shit, man, you know, but you come back and it ain't like you choose to get in trouble, man. It's just shit that just randomly happens. You got so much love for the people that's around you, you know, you make bad decisions, you know, and that's just the way life is, you know. And that's why one of the things I say, it was never a forced move. You know, it's like you chose that love.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I feel, you know.
You know, that's exactly how it is, you know. Like now I always be in the hood. Like I'm always driving through it. I stop and eat there. You know, but it's now more like me. You know, I think I'm too old to be like posted up over there and hanging out corners. It's different now, you know, especially like, cause over there, like my neighborhood got hit with a RICO indictment, so it changed that shit. That changed everything, you know.
I grew up in Washington D.C. It was very different, but you know, there's nothing I wanted to do more than sort of be with my friends, and we would, you know, our version was just got street fighting, you know, like, but there was a thing about it that like, it's not that we were like looking for it, but it was a way to kind of show each other how much we loved each other.
Yeah.
Is that component there?
I think so. I think well, like a gang is like a family, you know, and even in the family there's like a real family, there's problems, but let's just say you don't get along with your brother, but then some other guy comes and beats up your brother, you're on it.
That's right.
So it's the same like in the neighborhood. It's like, you know, you got so many guys, like there's little different groups and subsets and all these things, but a situation will happen and it like brings everybody together.
So talk about that. Talk about like how, like, can you give me an example of when you guys were youngsters where like violence, like, you know, sort of getting each other's back, however you want to look at it, but engaging in some sort of like physical violence together brought groups of young men, brought you as young men together?
Like I'm gonna tell you a situation, but I'm not gonna go into it. Maybe out there I'll tell you about it.
Cool.
But there was this one time where basically like it was the world against us, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're at Hoover Park, all my neighborhood, maybe like, I mean, not all of it, but like the active ones, maybe like 60, 70 of us, right? Hoover Park is on the corner of Hoover and Adams. And we're in there, and all these trucks and cars start pulling up on us. A lot of them, 20, something like that, to come and get us. And it like this looked like that movie The City of Gods, when all the little kids pull their thing out. That's what it was. It was like 30, 40, 50 guns pointed at them. So it was like, oh shit, they just took off because we was just like, we're so united. And then we have different spots in the neighborhood. So that was one of our hangouts. Another one we had was on 39th and Vermont, and back of these apartments, because the homies lived in these apartments. So it's like we're moving as a unit that deep, that many cars. Like, okay, now we're going to go to this other spot. And then, because my neighborhood was like divided between Southwest Police Department and Rampart. So then, you know, now let's go on the Rampart side. So we'll go over there on 20th and Vermont. So it gets hot over here, we'll switch over there. But we're moving as a unit, like deep.
It bonded you guys.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, like we had a lot of murders, you know, like let's just say in 91, they killed 17 of my homies in 1 year. So
Who was coming at you guys?
like in LA, nobody gets along with nobody, you know, basically. It's like, if they ain't from your hood, they're your enemies. That's it. Like, you don't recognize them, like, get them. That was like the 90s mentality, you know. They ain't one of yours, get them.
Was that the same for you guys?
It is, and it like flips around,
yeah,
you know.
It's a survival tactic, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it was just, when you're that young, man, you out partying a lot. And with all the liquor and drugs and stuff in people's body, you know, stuff can click off, you know, at the snap of a finger, man.
Sure.
So it's just, you know, with all the stuff in the mix of the body, man, you know, it's always a lot of beef jumping off, a lot of problems, a lot of situations, a lot of, you know, and then, you know, everybody don't agree on the same color. You know, everybody don't agree on the same name, the same number, whatever the case may be. So, you know, it was always war. It's always war, man. You know, so you just got to be on your P's and Q's, man, you know, around, you know, every time you walk out the door, basically. You know what I'm saying? You walk your dog down the street, you better be on your P's and Q's.
Down where you were at, did you know about the Harpies? Like, did you know?
Yeah,
what was your take on that?
I had, you know, Harpies was kind of, you spread it out, you know, and one of my best buddies named Joe, we used to call him Mexican Joe, you know what I'm saying? And I dealt with him for different reasons, you know. And he was from Harpies, him and all his brothers and everything, you know. And we was thick as thieves, you know what I'm saying? He grew up around the east side where I'm at, down in the 50s, you know. Everybody knew Mexican Joe, you know what I'm saying? And to this day, everybody know Mexican Joe and his brothers, you know. Harpies was around, man. I definitely knew about Harpies, man. I mean, because those dudes, when they tag, they doing big old fucking harpy letters, you know. You know, they was tagging huge way even back then, man. You know about Harpies.
Yeah. And how about you? Did you know about Bo at all? Did you know about what?
I didn't know Bo, but I knew about like when you know you're down there growing up, you learn about everything. So you know, I go past here, it could be like this is the Florences, or this is the East Coasts, or you start, okay, the Hoovers are over here, or the South Flow. So you start knowing all the gangs, like all the areas. So I've been heard about the Pueblo since I was a little kid. But plus my mom's comadre used to live somewhere over there, and we used to, you know, like for us, like seeing gang writing, it's like, I don't know, I just when you're young, you like seeing that, you know, because I used to write on the walls a lot. So it's like, you know, you that's how you know where you at too.
Yeah, you pay attention to it, man. That's like, you know if you need to go around,
Right.
through, or or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Depending on what,
Yeah.
depending on what, like,
Yeah.
give me an example of something for somebody who doesn't know shit about it. Give me an example of something you would see on a wall that would.
I'm a blood, man.
Okay.
My neighborhood is a blood. If I'm just say getting off the bus and I see a big old BK on the wall, I ain't gonna walk that direction because I already know what that means. Blood killer. So, I'm gonna try to figure something else, maybe get off a few stops down and see if I can walk through somewhere where, it's a little more safer, for me. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with a Crip. They see CK on the wall, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna hesitate. Your car break down. Anything, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to get up out of there, you know what I'm saying? He says, you already know that's a calling card and not going because
Right.
you might not make it out.
Right.
Straight
right,
up.
Right. Can you just sort of, again, like kind of just like walk me through, the 90s mentality, sort of, or like how it was different from from being young and or what that was like?
I mean, when I was young, before I was like in the gang, but I grew up in the gang, so I was always like it was gonna happen anyways. I always felt like I was part of it, even like as a kid. And there's this one of my homies that he's like a legend where I'm from, and I always looked up to him. But he was a little kid. I was younger than him, but I remember him pulling up to the house, crying, with a big ass gun, some like dirty hairy shit, crying, asking one of my bros to take him on a mission because LAPD had just dropped him off in the enemy neighborhood, put him there, they fucked him up, and he wanted his get back. A little kid, And I always remember that in my head. I have that vision.
The dudes in the other neighborhood fucked him up.
They beat him up
Yeah.
like bad. They took him right to where they were like their spot.
And that was a pretty common thing to do back in the LAPD. Yeah. Real common.
We talked about that before.
And so I always have that in my mind. Like I always remember that about him. Like he was a little kid, but he was already he was on another level. Like he was acting like a grown up on his mentality. Like I want my get back. Like. And I don't want to fight. I want to like take it to the next level,
I mean, are there times where you felt like it was hopeless and it wasn't about anything, or did that never enter into your minds?
I mean, for me, it was just the the hood, and that's it. Like whether we were wrong, right, I don't think that even mattered at that point because once you come into it, you just keep it going, And now that I'm older, I see things different. I fuck with a lot of my enemies, like a lot of my enemies that back then there's no way I would be like talking to them or nothing. But now, like my worst enemies, I'm over here chopping it up with them, inviting them to I invite them to my shows. I have my enemies at my shows and it's cool. It's like they grew up too, so they and we're all from the same area. We were all going at it with each other when we were younger. And now it's like, we look at it like, because anything could happen. I get in a car accident down the street and it's over,
That's
or
right.
whatever, plane crash, whatever. But we look at it like, damn, we made it. That shit was kind of crazy. Like we made it out of there, and we both have people that didn't make it that we loved.
That's right.
Or people that went away that that we love, and so we all go through the same thing. So we get it. Like at the end, like now it's just like mutual respect and there's sort of like there's some love right there, even though we enemies and everything, it's cool,
Tell us a little bit about just kind of what got you out of just your area and
okay,
and all
well,
that.
like I'm gonna say like 2001, 2002, around that time there was a situation. I went to this place where a young man lost his life, and like my name just came up, and next thing you know, it's like the shit, how it is in the hood, like someone will plant a scene and the shit snowballs. Next thing you know, I'm on LA's Most Wanted.
So you were at you were at somewhat like some party or something like that, and someone
then,
had gotten killed.
Situation took place. The young man lost his life, and now my name's in the mix. So now, get him. So me, I kind of like backed away, and you sometimes when these things happen, you need time to think.
How old were you then?
I was like, I don't know if I was like 25, 26. I was,
And had you been locked up before?
Yeah, I had, since I was young, I've gone to juvenile halls, turned 18, I started going to county. Then I went to prison before for some like robberies, and then but I had been out for a while because, you know, I always did music and was always, I mean, I'll work, sell dope. I just like, you know, it was just a mix of everything, you know, be in the neighborhood. So it was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out type. And then this happens, and I decide to leave. I'm like, nah, I need to like clear my mind, and because a lot of things go through your mind when, especially like the way it happened to me. They got this guy, now they got this guy. Oh shit, they're going down the line. So I ended up in Mexico.
So when you make that decision,
Yeah.
basically you know that they're coming after you for
Yeah.
murder.
Yeah.
And
It fucks with you.
Can you explain the psychology of it?
I mean, it fucks with you just because I know a lot of people that had got life already, like crazy sentences, whether it be 89 to life, you know, even 7 to life. You know, people got 7 to life, been in there 30 years.
Right.
You know, when you're out there, you don't care, but when you now you got to deal with it, you care. Like, it's like you wake up and it's like the real world, you know. And then so, you know, I left and I get over there, and my life was so fast, and once I crossed over, my life started going slow.
And that's in Mexico, right?
Yeah, it just went slow. Like,
I know on my end, I done seen people get charged with murders they never did nothing. They never were around.
Right,
had nothing
right.
to do with.
Right.
And went and got life sentence for murders that they didn't do, you know. And I'm sure, like, you know, that's one of the thoughts that probably went through your head, huh? Like,
yeah.
I'm in a lose-lose situation.
Yep. And then, you know, it's on the TV. It just made it look like, oh man, this shit looks bad, you know? And I remember I had
They have your face on the TV?
yeah, I had a VHS copy of that shit. And I'd watch that shit like 3 or 4 hours at a time over. I rewind it and try to like break up every little word that was said to try to like, I already was working on my case by doing that, you know, like, okay, this news reporter guy's saying this, and this. Fucking lying.
And
bullshit.
What is the actual, like, when you're in that situation, are you hiding? I mean, you're not at home, right? I mean, like, before you go to Mexico, you're seeing that on the TV.
No. I seen it when I was in Mexico.
You seen it when you were in Mexico?
Yeah,
Got it.
When I took off, I just took off. Once I get to Mexico, I get that, someone sends that to me, and I have it. And it's just, I remember the day that it came out in the news. I was in this house. That was like the hiding spot or whatever. That's where we're at. And then I had put a phone in this house, but I was upstairs, so the phone was ringing all night. Like, well, it was nighttime. It was ringing and ringing. I'm like, no one has this. Well, like 2 or 3 people had the number. Like, who the fuck is calling? And, you know, this Mexico, this like scary fucking haunted house vibes and shit. Like, I ain't going down there type shit. So then, you know, like, this shit's dark, and, you know, you hear fucking roosters and pigs making noises.
Yeah.
So over there, you know, it's like all this like folk stories and shit. You know, the devil, that fool might pop out on you or whatever, you know. And so finally I go down, and then I'm like, what's up? Man, fool, you just came out on the news. And what they say, fool, it's all bad. The person on the other side is fucking scaring me and shit, like, man, this and that. They said this and that. They had your picture. They had the homie's picture. And they're saying, like, so that next day, I remember it was crazy because in that town, my uncle was, like, running for office, right?
In that town in Mexico?
In that town in Mexico.
That's why you went there?
I just went there because where else I'm going to go?
Right.
You know, and so I, like, and they won. They won, right? So it's a big celebration. There's parades and all this shit. And the news hit me, and it was hot. It was a sunny day, and like where my house was at, it was like down the street from downtown. So I'm walking up towards downtown, dizzy as fuck. I'm just like, I'm out of it. It's in my head, and I'm feeling like this shit's closing in on me. But this is like in year 1, or less than year 1. I'm like nauseous. I go in the little store, buy a little bucket of beer, these little tiny beers like this, and I like pound like 6 of them. Like, just to feel a little bit calm. And I'm just like in the cut, and I'm like paranoid. I've been paranoid. I was paranoid.
What specifically are you paranoid about?
The government coming after me. Like I'm thinking,
So there's not like you're not safe down there.
nah, because they got me down there. In the end, they got me down there. And so, you know, I ended up making my way to my uncle's house, the celebration. Everybody's happy. And then I remember I told my uncle, I'm like, man, I came on in the news yesterday. And he's like, who gives a fuck? Forget about that shit. Here's another beer, eat. And I'm eating and everything. And I was dying to call the U.S. that night because it was just like, I wanted to hear somebody else's opinion. So I did. I waited till I went to a payphone. Over there you would buy these like little, like a little card, like a little credit card. And you could put like, 50 pesos, 100 pesos on it, like $5, $10, whatever. And then I went to this payphone and I called this person, right? And they're like, yeah, shit's bad. And I'm like, oh man. And by this time I'm like kind of like drunk. And I'm just like sad. I'm just like, oh man. But like, it would come in waves. I would snap out of it. I'll get involved in some other shit, But then like things would remind me of it like all the time, and man, you're a fugitive.
Now, did the people in Mexico that you were dealing with, your family or whoever, did they know that you were a fugitive?
They started knowing, because they basically in Mexico it's like this. When they see a Mexican American over there, or just like me, either he's deported or he's a fugitive. If he's there longer than a month, after a month they're like, what the fuck's this dude still doing here? Like, people from the U.S. only go for a little bit and visit the family. They my family every year would travel like 10, 15 cars with caravan all the way to Jalisco, the state where my family's from. And at a certain time of the years, they have these like festival right there. And my whole family would go to this festival every year. But when that it's a wrap, everybody see all these
bounces.
cars back to the U.S. So I'm still there and I'm walking. You come from the U.S., you got to be driving a truck, some shit. Yeah. I'm over here walking around, and I'm starting to stand out. People are starting to notice me, And my boy that we both went down there, we split up. We're like, man, we got to split up, because together we're more obvious.
He just wanted to?
Yeah, he was my co-defendant. So then, we split up, and then, I'm telling you, my life got slow, which was cool in a way. Like soul searching happened. I didn't like it, but then I started liking it. Like you start finding things about the family, like history, like things that you don't care about. I didn't care about none of that in LA. Nothing. It's not important. I just like going to Mexico when I was a kid, because we're like fireworks, smoke weed. I was over here fucking eating McDonald's every day in the U.S. and shit like that.
Yeah.
Anything off of Figueroa, right there by USC, they'll Taco Bell.
It's garbage.
And shit. And then I go over there and I start eating like home-cooked, like vegetables and like, beef and chicken. And I start eating right. And I don't know, shit just starts changing for me, And I was already training martial arts before I went with Dave and all of them before I left.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I was already training with
Mosquito, with Richard?
Yeah. I think I had made a blue belt with him before I went. Damn. And it's crazy, when I went on the run, all I took was a gi.
Wow.
A gi and a cup, some clothes, but I took that gi. And then right there where I was at, they had a Kempo school. So I pull up one day and I'm like, hey, what's up? Do I get 2 free classes? Like, karate schools give you 2 free classes and then you got to start paying. They're like, yeah, come through, but you got to spar all the dudes.
Let's go.
I'm like, all right, cool. So then, I just started training with them, and that's what I'm saying. Like, my life was kind of slow. I started liking it. Like, and then I get a call from my boy one day, and he's all, pack up. There's work. There's shit to do now. I'm coming through like in 4 or 5 hours.
This is your co-defendant.
Yep. And then he picks me up. We go to this Ciudad Guzman, which is also Jalisco. This is the mission. And I was like, oh man.
So now you got that work that you heard about.
Yeah, so I'm like, like that. See, in the beginning, like where my family's from, it never was like, well, I didn't see it like cartel. That whole cartel thing wasn't there, but it was coming in. And then little by little I started seeing like, oh shit, this shit's like it's on another level out here, you know.
Can you explain to me things that you saw that made you see that it was on another level or that it was coming?
I mean, look, I'm gonna give you an example. I was over there one time, right? See, my uncle had this where you shoot pool, and then he had all these businesses in this town. He had a store with video games, so I would always be over there. And then like on one of the days, they would shut they would just make one street a fucking swap meet in the middle of the street. Long ass street is a fucking outdoor swap meet. So I go over there, you know, buy zigzags, buy some bootleg movies, you know, look at people, cause I'll be inside, you know, like most of the time I was in unless I had to go somewhere. And then just to breathe, you know, be around people. And then so this dude, there was this little it's like Europe where they have those little circle things you go around as you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they have those everywhere in Mexico. So right in front of my uncle's house and his stores and his pool, my two cousins were sitting there. And this dude, bald-headed dude, like, you know, gang member, passed by in a beach cruiser, mad dogging him, scaring him. So, you know, I call out to him, you know. And I'm still on, like, kind of LA mentality. I'm like, I throw the H at him. When he passed by, he turns around and looks at me. I'm like, heartbeats. He goes. So that was it. A week later, I'm like, man, I'm going to go back over there. Like, that mentality, man, I'm bang on this fool. Let me find him. Let me run into him. So it took about 2 weeks. I ran into this fool. My cousins are sitting on that bench again. This fool's like grilling him, scaring him, you know. And I told him, hey, where the fuck you from? And then he goes, I'm from this place. And I'm like, are you that? He goes, no. Then what are you? And then, you know, he gave me some stupid response. I go, well, this West Side Harpies, you know, whatever.
Even though you're in Mexico.
Yeah, I'm in Mexico. He leaves, and then I'm chilling right there with my two cousins. I'm like, man, you fools are scary, man. You fools could jump this fool. Fuck that fool. And while I'm there, all of a sudden, it's like a little hill that leads to that little thing. I see dudes like coming running, like zigzagging in between cars. I'm like, what the fuck? This dude's coming up with like sticks, old ugly ass shotgun, like all these, like some Warriors type shit, like the movie Warriors, like a dude with a chain, some shit with, you know, like a stick with nails in it, like all kinds of like makeshift weapons, right?
A tiger on a leash and shit.
Yeah, and they come and they surround me, right? And then like the main dude, right? He got a big gun, and then like the dude that was on the bike, he want to sucker punch me, so he's like to my left, but the dude over here with the gun, with the handgun. So I'm like, okay, this is the dude. So I'm like, hey, look, I don't have a problem with none of y'all. I have a problem with him. And I called him out. Can I just get down with him right now and fix it? Because I kept on telling him like over and over, like, I don't got a problem with any of y'all, you know? So they were like, oh shit, this fool's like, he's being sincere.
Yeah, you're showing heart.
And plus I was like, you know, it was a dangerous situation, you know? And then my cousin's, his grandfather comes out with like a 357, and my family calls me Pelon. So he's like, Pelon, get inside. And he kicks everybody out. Right? So then, whatever, more shit happened. But later down the line, I start moving around. I'm in different states. Now I'm like in Baja, like in TJ, I'm moving around. And I kept training, right? So one day they call me and they're like, okay, it's time for you to come down and do your black belt test. It's weird how this shit happened. So I'm like, I call my cousins the same too. And I'm like, hey, tell my uncle, because he had these big Honda motorcycles, these quads. Tell him if I could get one so I could move around in it. And then go to the spot and buy me a bag of weed. I'm going to give you the money when I get over there. And then pick me up this day from the airport. So they pick me up from the airport. Where's my weed at? No, I don't got it. So we go to the spot where they sell the weed, and the dude that was in there, when I left before, he was straight. When I come back, which is like 7, 8 months, 9 months later, he's fucking tweaked out on meth. I'm in the little trap spot. He's in there smoking, and this is like before. I don't think they even have pookies in Mexico. They're smoking out of a fucking light bulb, you know. And I come in there, and I'm a jokester. I like clowning and all that shit. And he's like, "Why you down here?" And I'm like, came to do a hit. I'm just fucking with him. And this fool's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm gonna get on. He's like, oh, shit. So that was it. I forgot about this dude. I was there about a week. You know, I did my black belt test, got my shit, happy. That's why I'm gonna call Richard. I called Richard. I drank these two. They're like 40 ounces. They're called caguamas. When I got that test, I went and bought two. I just pounded them and I called Richard. And I'm like, hey, bro, I just got my fucking black belt. What? So then I leave. I fly out, right? So then a month later or 2 months, maybe 2 months later, you know, I don't know. That same dude, that bald-headed dude that was punking my cousins, they found him on the side of the river. They hit him with two AKs, emptied both AKs on him, and shot him in the face, like a whole clip in his face too, with a handgun. And my cousins tell me that, right? And they're like, hey, you know that one dude? It's a rap. They found him by the river. He's full of hoes. So I was like, all right, that's cool. Fuck him. You know, it was fucking negative ass vibes anyways. You know, that dude was starting trouble. And he goes, yeah, but the bad thing they're saying you did it. And I was like, oh man, the fuck? I'm like, I've been gone like 2 months. Like, there's no way I could have been. I'm over here in the border, you know, like, got nothing to do with that shit. He goes, yeah, man, but remember that tweaked out fool?
Oh, because you said you were doing a hit.
Yeah, so he's like, you know that tweaked out fool? Like, you know how their mind works. They gluing shit together and masterminding shit in their own, like, it's like they're psychotic, you know? But what I'm saying is that, like, that dude, Mexico was different. You can't be hard in Mexico. You out there walking around fucking giving people dirty looks, you're not gonna get nowhere. I don't care if you just did 30 years in a prison in the U.S. If you intimidate somebody in Mexico, mysteriously some shit will happen to you. I started seeing more things like this. That's when I knew, like, yeah, it's a different ball game over here. You know?
And how did that make you feel that it was a different ball game?
Nah, well, I had to catch up to it and be like, not that, you know, I just had to be on the same page with it. They put you in another criminal situation. You already got your bachelor's, right. You know, you got your associates, you got your bachelor's, and you probably did some internship along the way, you know, so.
Just adjust to new rules.
Yeah, you just adjust. That's basically what happened. I just had, like, not only me, because there's a lot of people that were just like me over there, and they had to adjust, whether they were deported or fugitives. Like, they had to, like, mind somebody. I mean, it's just like mysterious shit be happening over there. Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, just a dirty look could be enough, you know. I don't know, but it's like LA, you know. You get used to it. So over there,
did you get used to it?
I got used to it.
How did you get to start kind of being involved with those guys?
I just started maneuvering, like, cause my boy's family is involved in that. My family, they're field workers. They worked on sugarcane, agave, which is what you make tequila from, corn. Like, in that area, that's what they do, and that's what my family does. And even in the U.S., like, they came here and that's what they did. They worked in the fields, or all my family works. Over here, all my family works construction. If you're a man, you're in the carpenters union. My boys, his family, they're all involved in that. So, I mean, Mexico is different because, like, your neighbor, this fool's a hitman. This neighbor, he's a politician. And
they'll, like, have dinner with each other.
Yeah, all
the
that,
kids
everything normal. Yeah. Everything's normal. Even where I lived in Baja, on my street where I lived at, everybody was like, there was a judge on my street, and he was cool. He was cool with me, you know, real cool.
I mean, can you talk about what you were doing with them?
I mean, honestly, like my involvement. See, cause I'm not like bloodline from them, and I wasn't family. So me, basically, I was just like go do this,
contract.
Go get that, go get this stuff and do this and do that, pick up this, give this to this person and stuff like that. Or, you know, I was a point man, or I was this, or I was that. And then in other situations, yeah, you do get your hands dirty because they want you to get your hands dirty, or you know, they won't trust you, you know.
And what's the biggest, like, you know, in the media or whatever it is, like for Americans that have no idea what that's really like, what the culture, the cartel culture is, or the draw of, like, working, like, the humanity in it or the lack of it, like, what would you say is the biggest misconception?
I mean, the thing is that over there, I don't know. See, I want to say that there's less opportunities. That's why people get in this. But I've seen people that are like well off, like crazy, like their parents are like businessmen and everything. They're all involved in the shit too, you know. It's just like here. It's the same as here. It's like no one's pushing them into it. They just, I don't know, they gravitate. Not everybody, but you know, they gravitate towards it, and next thing you know, that's what they identify as, you know.
And can you try to explain to me what the draw is? I mean, I know it might sound stupid, but I mean, what's the draw? For somebody whose parents are, who has every opportunity.
Like for me, I just was trying to like eat and have some money, and then that first plan, that was the plan, that plan faded away. That plan didn't matter no more. Now it was just like, man, it's survival mode now. You know that, because
how does one lead into the other?
Okay, look, when I first got there in the early 2000s, you could, I talked about this with Ed Calderon. You could get 15K, 10K to drop somebody, you know? Right now, you're on salary like $500 a week, and you might take out like 5 people, kidnap a family, 2 ATM machines. Your job is complicated. And go at it with the cops, you know, go at it with your, like...
Because there's so many people willing to do the work now?
Yeah, it's like cheap labor, and they hire smokers to do shit. So it's like I seen it happening, you know? But so we just, at that point, we were just like, man, we need to stay out of that and just try to get money and just stay free, you know, as long as we can, you know?
And besides that thing that you said happened to you, where those guys saw, when those guys surrounded you and you were like, let me just fight him.
Oh, no, that's lightweight.
No, I know that was just a little, yeah. I understand that, but I'm saying, what I'm saying is, how do you become a dude that is trusted by these guys to say, hey, this is the kind of guy that could get 5,000 to 10,000 to actually, you know, do this big job for us? Like, how do you earn their trust?
I mean, I don't think you ever do, because even them, they're disposable too. They're all the people that I knew over there, I'll say like 85% are gone already. They're MIA, they're dead, they got indicted, they're over here in the US doing life, like their shit's not even guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed over there, you know, like the cops are corrupt, and then they got good cops, and then they got cops that don't know they're corrupt. They're doing their job, but
they're working for someone who's corrupt,
but they don't know, because their boss works for somebody. So their boss is go hit that house, but they're really hitting their enemy's house. Somebody else's, you know, so.
How many years were you there?
I was there 15 years.
Wow.
So, you know, in those 15
on the run, right?
Yeah, what's that?
You was on the run during that whole 15?
Yeah, 15 years. And, you know, the whole time I dropped 80 albums. I was recording music crazy when I was over there.
You got the pressure of being on the run and being wanted for murder. Yeah. And then is there also this pressure of your enemies or the things that you've done coming back to haunt you over there?
Yeah, no, there is. And at the same time, it's like you're living your life. Like shit that happens in regular, you got to deal with all the life things too, like regular life shit. Like life things were happening over there, like regular life things, you know? It's not all like fucking Narco season 2 and fucking, you know, it's not all that. It's life and love and sadness and all these like things that mess with your heart, and life's changing and you're changing too, you know? My boy, he had came out the feds. I met him over there. And he's like, hey, we have a group where it's all nothing but homies, but they learned all the ceremonies. They're in the feds directly from the Lakotas, from the Sioux, and we run our own sweat lodge over here. And you know, we're inviting you. It's private, no one's not allowed to come, but we're inviting you, you know, because he knew that I was all fucked up. This shit's fucking. I had a lot of problems, so they invite me to the sweat lodge, right? And when I get there, they tell me, you know what? We're gonna run this sweat. We're gonna run this sweat for your sister. Yeah. And we, you know, I hadn't sweated in a lot of years, because I had sweated with the Lakotas. My boy wrote a book, and he was real close with the Lakotas, so he took me to a sweat with them a long time ago. So I go to this sweat, and man, this shit was hot as fuck, like satanic level. Like,
tell me about that. Walk me through that.
So we go to the sweat, you know, round 1 kicks in, boom, and shit gets hot as fuck.
Where are you? Like, where?
I'm in Baja. I'm like right on the beach. This area is called Baja Malibu.
Walk us through, like, people who don't know what a sweat lodge is. Like,
sweat lodge is like this. It's like a ceremony. It's like this. they're called nipis. In Spanish, and in Latin America, they call it temazcal, where it's basically like they put these hot rocks, they heat these rocks, and they put them in the middle, and then they pour the water on it, and then it's like a ceremony.
Inside tents?
It's sort of like a tent, but it's like round. It's almost like an igloo, but it's like they make it out of willow, because you could bend willow, and then they cover it all with blankets, and then in there, they're drumming and they're singing these songs, and then you like invoking the ancestors, and basically it represents going back into the womb. So you go back into the womb, Mother Earth, and then you sweat, and then a lot of things happen in there, like, it's psychological too, because you start hearing voices in your head, like me. That's my experience. I don't know if everybody, like me, I'm in there, and all my problems, like all my demons come out in round one, because it was hot as fuck.
How long is round one?
Maybe about 20, 25 minutes. It's hot as fuck. So the whole sweat's about like 2 hours, because in between they take a break. They open up the door, and while they're bringing in the next set of rocks. So every round is getting hotter and hotter, And like by round 3, I'm out. I'm almost laid out on the floor, like I've been shot or something, And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like to me, it's like a test, because some people tap out, but you're not allowed to tap out with the homies, because that's like almost like a sign of disrespect, like, nah, we're in here, because basically you go in, like the way the way I learned it from them, they're in there to suffer and so you're in there suffering, you're in there like for the ones that were here, the ones that are here now, and the ones that are yet to come, and your ancestors and all this stuff, you're hearing all these things, but all your problems pop out right there for me. And I feel like they were in the sweat lodge with me, And then like I said, they ran that sweat for my sister. So we're here to sacrifice, and they kept on bringing on my sister, and it was beautiful. It was hard. It was, man, that's one of the hottest sweats I ever been in, Like I can name 3, and that was one of the one. It was hot as fuck, and it took everything out of me, everything, like basically almost dragged me out of there after it was done. And then it was right next to the ocean, so we just go jump into the ocean. Yeah. And it's crazy, because 9 months later, my sister had her son, Matias, and we always call him the Sweat Lodge baby. Yeah, 9 months later, exactly. So, and it was things like that, like spirituality started coming into the picture, And I already had been initiated into the Afro-Cuban religions, one by way of Nigeria, the other one by way of the Congo, Angola, whatever. And they were giving me hope. I was new, so I was like, well, what does it say? Well, what the God's talking about? Am I straight? Oh, yeah, if you do this, if you do that. And but it's full of like charlatans too, So, but me, I'm a reader. I like to read and study, So I started like, studying, and found out that it's real practical. Just because it's like, it's Yoruban or it's spoken in Nigerian, you're hearing all this shit, you're like, the fuck are they saying? It sounds like how somebody would say, he's talking Chinese or what? But, you're in this African language, but when you really break it down and you translate it, it's just, you're just venerating like the world, like everything in it, the water, the air, the, fire, like you just giving thanks to the gods for all these things that we don't even give a fuck about them, Yeah. We take them for granted and shit, and then, so I started sweating. I ended up sweating like for like 7 years, I don't know, like once a month I would sweat. I would just sweat it. I got like addicted to it. Like,
you still do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it as much as I used to and as I can, because now it's in Baja, so it's a mission for me. But they're still running them the same. Everything's still running, But I think that was like a change. And then all these dudes that I'm around, they're all spiritual, but all these dudes are ex-killers, ex-dope dealers. All of them had came from the feds. 125, 130, 115, 110. All of them had double-digit numbers like behind them, So, and I like that, Even the Afro-Cuban religions, like how I told you, like it'd be like hitmen, prostitutes, fucking, government officials in the religion. I'd be like, man, I like this, because there's nobody tripping on nobody. I could be next to this guy. He don't care. And now I'm homies with a fucking governor's assistant, and now my boy's a cop right here. And now this shit, I'm using all this shit to my advantage now. Like, it's keeping me up on game because I'm still a fugitive. I'm still got all these issues still going on, but now it's like, now they're my people, and now they're like giving me insight and hey, well, look, it's about to get hot right now. There's this and that, or I just listen without asking, and I hear things, you know, and I'm like, oh shit, it's time for me to, you know, go underground again for a little bit, or whatever, you know.
In your life, I see you did a lot of soul searching,
Yeah.
trying to find direction. Have it ever been that moment in that 15 years where you thought it was over with?
Yeah, it's coming up, but I still have problems, so I still have to keep that. I have to keep that in the cut just in case I needed Plan B. Plan B, I always had to be in here somewhere in case I needed to reach for Plan B. So
Plan B being, I'm gonna take the fight to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I have no choice, because sometimes you get cornered in over there. If you don't do Plan A, you're most likely gonna get cornered in with Plan B. So, and sometimes you do Plan A and they know where you're going, so Plan B chases you to wherever your destination. I didn't say it, but a lot of people are dying through this whole time, you know. They're dying, they're going MIA. A lot of things are happening, you know, and still the government's still there. I'm still hearing rumors from over here from the US. I'm talking to people and they're like, man, they hit the homie's house and they were asking about you. You know, this happened, and your name keeps like, so all that shit has me worried. So 2 months in, my daughter's mom's like, I can't deal with this shit. Here's your daughter, I'm out. So now I have a baby girl, and now I'm like, now it's like I have the thing in the diaper bag with my daughter. I'm on the stroller with the shit right there. Like and that's when I go out, because I'm not really trying to go out, you know, only when I have to and
With a
move
pistol
around.
in the baby bag, right?
Yeah, the thing in the baby bag, in the diaper bag. So, and you know, and sometimes I'll have the thing on my daughter's back in the baby chair. I'll put her in the chair and put it, because over there in Mexico, it's like, you might make a right turn, there's a fucking military checkpoint right there. They have like makeshift checkpoints everywhere, you know, so you never know. So I would wing it, man. Like, I'll go like on gut instinct. Do I keep it on me right next to me? Or should I get through this part? If I can make it across this part, then I'll pull it out and I'll have it with me. So I'll like try to be
I'm sorry
strategic
for
like that.
but do you know at this point specifically who it is that's coming for you?
Yeah.
You know who they are.
Yeah. There's, and then it's crazy because I had this dude that I thought he was my friend, you know. I mean, I didn't grow up with him, you know, but I met him over there, whatever. It was cool. And then there's a different situation. And I already had my daughter, and she was about like, I don't know, maybe 2 going on 3. You know, I have my own house. I live in a gated community, like gated street. One time this dude, see over there, everybody's shiesty, and it's almost like here. I mean, it is like here. Humans are humans no matter where they're at, you know. But he planted a seed in another friend of mine's head that I should be got, that I should be killed. So I knew a guy that was a squad leader. He was a killer. He had a whole team. He was like a SWAT team dude. I mean, he wasn't a real SWAT team, but he had a SWAT team. He was trained like a SWAT team. He had a whole crew. And then they sent one of his guys to my house one day. And this guy, he was below me. Like, he'd do errands for me, you know? And he came and he was asking, and right when he asked like the second question, first question, second question, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on right here?
You knew it.
I knew it. I knew I was on the list. Man, I was just tripping. It was just going through my head. It got resolved like 4 or 5 days later, you know. They killed it. It ended. But I was hurt. Like, shit, I was like, man, that's fucked up. Fuck this fool. I ain't never fucking with this fool. Changed my numbers and everything, right? Later, this individual pops up in my story again. And this time some shit happened to him. But he has no way to get, like, he has no way to get his run back. No way. So he's like, I'll go to Rabbit. Fuck Rabbit. It was strange because I went to church that day. Because you know what? Like, I was like a pagan. I believed in everything. Like, I was all involved in African religions. I was sweating. I was doing everything. And you know, my mom, she's Christian, you know? So, like, in my head, I could hear my mom's voice telling me, man, you better take that little girl to church. You guys need God. And, you know, that's how my mom is. See, I was bringing up church for everything. Man, you need to pray more. You need to go to church. Man, God don't like this. So I would just take my daughter to church, right? And it was this big-ass church. It used to be like a boxing arena. So the seats went down like this. Mm-hmm. And it was like modern as fuck. It was even online. So I would never sit with the people. You catch, if I ever pop out on some of this footage, I probably am. Because they would sometimes like swing the camera like this. And I'll do some shit like this. Like, oh, here it comes. I'll do this shit. I'll be in the corner by myself. Like, there'll be probably like 200 seats between me and all the people. And the people the church dudes would always be like, man, you need to sit over there with the people. I'm like, nah, I'm not. You need to. Or we're going to ask you to leave. I'm like, fuck it, I'll leave. And then they'll be like, no, just stay. And then I would go to this church, right? Sometimes I wouldn't pay attention. I'd just be in there texting, doing all my business, like trying to get money and do whatever inside the church. And it was good for me because I could hide in there. I was hiding in plain sight. And I had some friends there at the church. And I remember they did this like Christian baptism. It's different than a Catholic baptism. In Christians, they like present the child to God or something. And they were like, it was happening one day, you know, but I couldn't do it because the shit's online. This is a modern ass church. This shit looked like a show. Like I could do a rap show here, like big ass screen, lights, all kinds of shit, you know. But I couldn't do it. So I told my friend, like, hey, can you and your wife do my daughter? Like go and present her to God. Like I need that. And they're like, yeah, we got you. So even that was part of my soul searching because sometimes I'll go to church and I feel like God was like talking directly to me. Like they'll say some shit and I'll be like, what the fuck? Man, this fool knows what I'm going through. Like, he'll like say shit like, yeah, I know it seems fucked up right now, but you know, you're gonna make it out of here. And then he'll like, I like shit out of Psalms because like, it just gives me like fortitude. Like what I was telling you about the Quran, I would read the Quran. I just feel strong when I read the Quran. Cause I would read it like, That's how I would read the Quran. Me, I don't know. You know, and it just, I was just reading. I became an avid reader. It was almost like I was in prison because my house was my cell. I wouldn't really come out. I had the gym all in my house, had a PlayStation room in there, recording studio. I came out when I had to, and I just was exercising and reading, exercising, reading.
Making music.
And making music. So this one day I go to church, right? It's on a Sunday. We had this little routine. Church, and then we go to this like fucking fake Pollo Loco, right? It was bomb. Go get it. We eat. Fucking my daughter take a nap. She go to her room. I go to mine. We'll take naps. And then we'd come out after. Like, I'd have to go out there and play with her, you know, on her little bicycle, whatever, right? So I'm like, man, I'm going to wash my car. I had this SUV. So I'm fucking washing it. I have the thing, the thing open in the back, right? And then it's a gated street. So Sunday, my street was dead. Nobody would go out. No cars would come in. Like, you know, fools were hungover. I don't know, out of town, whatever. And boom, two SUVs. One SUV pulls, two of them, but one pulls up directly in front of the gate. And they're just looking at me. And I'm like, man. So I keep washing the car. And every time I look, like, I try to, like, do some shit like that, like, out the corner of my eye, fucking looking at me, like, grilling me, giving me dirty looks, like, say something.
Where's your daughter at?
Right there, playing right in front of me. Like, she's just a little girl. She's playing. So they're just looking at me, and I'm like, man, the fuck? And I'm acting dumb. I'm washing the car. So I get my daughter, I put her inside. I go to my kitchen. I jump up on the counter. I go over the cabinets, and I get the thing, and I bring it out, and I put it in the back under the towels. And I keep washing the car, and they're just fucking looking at me. And I was like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know how many minutes have passed, but it seems long because they're just looking at me. And it's obvious there's no one on the street. And then what they're waiting for is someone to come in so the gate could open so they could drive through or you know, vice versa, leave or come in. So I know this. I'm like, man, these fools are waiting to come in. But I'm thinking like, man, I'm tripping. Maybe it's not for me. Because I've been paranoid by this time fucking over a decade. everything means something to me. Everything adds up to something else. And I already been a decade. By this time, you already, you know, you got callous. You know things and shit. You know how things work and how things operate. It's about to go down. Like, fuck. So you start thinking, and so they just leave. I'm tripping. It wasn't for me. Maybe they're at the wrong street, and they just called them. Oh, you're on the wrong street. Come down 2 more streets. But they never come back up. So now another car comes. It looks at me, and it does a U-turn. And now it's on my side of the gate. So the dude gets out, and he's calling me. He's like, hey, to come out there. I don't really recognize him. I get close, and it's the dude that tried to have me killed the first time from before. So I look at him, and I'm like, nah, it's hot out there with they call them the Pepos. The Pepos are the state police. Those are the ones that catch fugitives. They have like an iPad where you put your hand on it, and it'll like on some Interpol shit or something. I never really seen it, but I just heard it from other people that were telling me they got that iPad where you put your hand on it. And they had some shit where they like, even if you erase everything out of your phone, they'll plug this shit back in and bring everything right back up. They had all this like technology, you know, and these dudes were like Denzel Washington. It's like training day. Like, and they roll in 2 trucks. So it's like 8 of them. So imagine 8 Denzel Washingtons jumping out on you and fucking interrogating you. They're all asking you the same question in a different way. Where you live at, and then they'll go to your house, rob your house. Damn. Depends, right? So I tell them, it's hot with the Pepos. I buzz him in. He comes in, and he starts trying to play with my daughter. And I'm like, man, something ain't right. Like, why is he here? Why is he at my house? Like, why the fuck is this fool here? He's trying to play with my daughter. He's like beating around the bush. And then he's telling my daughter, kick, punch. Because, my daughter used to watch me train. So kick, she'd do it when she was little. And I'm like, man, get the fuck away from my daughter. Like, in my head, like, this fool, I know him. He's shiesty as fuck. So then he asked me for one of my boys. Hey, what's up with your boy? Have you talked to him? I'm like, nah, I talked to him like in 3 or 4 months. Why, what's up? He's like, man, some shit happened. So basically, some stuff went missing that was like half a meal ticket, like and some change. It went missing, right? And then he's like, man, I'm not with these people no more. I'm with these people. He's with a different set of people now. People on the border, they're gonna hear this, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. So the people that they didn't have that power no more. It was more this new crowd that came in. So he's like, I'm with them, and I'm telling him like, that's cool, man. I'm on the sidelines. I'm not tripping on none of that, I do my shit on my own. And then he's just going on, and then he goes and the next thing he tells me is like, look, Rabbit, I'm gonna tell you some shit. It's gonna fuck you up, but I have no choice. And he goes, I told on your boy to the PFP, to the Mexican Federal Police. So when he tells me that, they're corrupt. That's nothing. My boy was in the U.S., so I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, that's like telling on a fucking security guard. Like telling some information to a fucking security guard. Like, what the fuck's he gonna do? Nothing. But then he goes, I told on your boy to the PFP, and I gave him up to the DEA. When he said that, oh, man, I just had like a outer body experience. Oh, and by now I have the shit in my pocket. I'm holding my daughter's hand. I have it in my pocket. And I'm just like watching his body language up and down. I'm just reading this fool like.
Second he goes.
Because I'm hearing like voices. And my shit's talking to me. It's like, kill this fool. When he tells me that, man, kill this fool. But it's like, how are you going to kill him on a street, gated street, where neighbors are probably even looking out the window, because Mexican people are nosy like that. They, looking out the blinds, see what the fuck's going on out there, Want to know there's probably an old lady all up in the shit, But when he tells me this, it fucked me up. It like that shit took the air out of my chest, because I never heard nobody say that, like, I'm a snitch, and I snitched on your boy, but I had to. Let me explain why. He's telling me this shit, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, man. And he goes, and then he tells me, you got to help me. You got to help me get the shit back, or they're going to kill me and my wife. And I'm like, man, there ain't nothing I can help you with, I don't got nothing to do with it. I don't want to be involved in it. I'm not involved in it. And he's just telling me all this shit. And then, over there, everybody got like 5, 6 phones, So if I were to talk to you, I had a phone just for you. One for Bo, one for Prime. That's it. And in case something, it didn't mix with all the other lines, and I could just throw them shits away or break the chip. So this dude has all his phones, and all his phones are going off. So I'm like, man, I know this, but after that, this fool's trash, So then he's like, his body language, he's like turns around on me, and he's like, hold up. He's talking to the SUV in the dead end. They came together. Back then, I just assumed, and I had speculations, but now I know his people, and I know the other side of the story. So I talked to his people. They're like, man, they came to get you. They want to kidnap you, kill you and your daughter, all that shit. And then he's like, so he's on the phone. He's like, hold up. And he's trying to he keeps giving his back to me. And I'm like, man, I just like I don't know what to do, because my daughter, she's little. She can't see that. And I'm already on cruise control. I'm not, like I said, I have plan B is probably gonna pop up right now. I'm on cruise control. I'm over here thinking about the gods, and I'm reading books and fucking the 7 Hermetic laws, and I'm all into fucking Sun Tzu, and I'm all into Machiavelli, and I'm reading all these books and the 4 agreements, and I'm on some other shit. I'm trying to be on some other shit, and teaching all this shit to my daughter too.
Sure.
And taking her to the sweats. I mean, she wouldn't go in there, but she'd be with me and other ceremonies and shit like that. So finally, whatever, he left. And I was going crazy. So I called my madrina. This is like a Santeria priest, right? And I'm like, hey, I need to see you. So I head up to Otay, which is right there in TJ by the airport. She's like, get over here right now. I go over there. She does a fucking reading on me. She's like, man, you got deaf on your head. Look, it says it right here. Iku is deaf. She's like, you got Iku on your head. But we could fix this shit. So don't trip, go home, you're gonna be all right. I'm like, man, I'm over here. So that night was like one of the hardest nights for me, because I didn't sleep, obviously. And then my daughter, I'd say this on the podcast, because I can't, so my daughter, she had her own room, but she would sleep on my bed. She always knock out in my room. So she crawls into my bed that night, and, I cover her with a little baby blanket, and then I put a bulletproof vest on top of her. I'm wearing a bulletproof vest. I have the chopper, and I have another chopper, and I have some handguns, and I'm like this. I'm that Mexican old lady now. I'm like this by the blinds, and I'm just, because I could see the street from my room, and Prime's been to my pad. He knows how it looks. So from my window, I could see all the way to the street. So I'm just in the window. I'm walking back and forth. I go down. I'm like, my plan was if they came, I was going to put my daughter on my neighbor's roof, come back down real quick and just go at it with these fools, because I had cameras too. So I had cameras in all kinds of places. So I just was had the iPad, had all that shit, and I just was looking. And then, I just felt weak. Not weak, but I just felt we might not make it through the night, and I just was feeling I felt that's what I'm saying, felt like taking my daughter to the border, turning her in and turning myself in, because it was just too much. I was just I was kind of losing my mind, because it felt real personal, because it was he knew me, I knew him. I knew what was most likely going to happen next, and I was just waiting for it. So it's like you're waiting to be killed. And, the clock is going slow. So I'm just I'm not fucking crying, but, my tears are coming out. Every time I look at my daughter, my fucking tears are coming out. And then I get mad. I'm like, man, fuck this fool. Come. I want him to come. But then I see her turn over, and she's a little girl, and she's back then she was real girly and shit, princesses and shit like that. And she liked them toys, Monster High and all this, from those days. I don't know. I just was I don't know if I probably prayed to God. I probably prayed to my gods. And I just was I wanted it to happen almost. Come, let's get this shit over with and shit. What do I do? So the whole night, from about like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. till like, fuck, I didn't sleep until they came the next day, the madrina. And we ended up doing this crazy ceremony where it's almost like you trade. You feed the ground, like it's like a sacrifice. You feed the ground blood. Instead of your blood, it gets fed, the blood of an animal. And then she was just like, you gonna be all right. She did another reading. Look, you cool. It's crazy and then like 3 days later, the dude leaves a phone number on my door, a paper. A little kid told me, yeah, some guy told me to put it right here. And it had his initial of his first name, of his nickname. So here I am again, walking back and forth from my kitchen to the living room, back and forth. Like, should I call it? Should I use my phone? Nah. Cause I'm like, if this fool's already with the DEA and the federal police, my shit's gonna be recorded. And then I'm thinking he's gonna just snitch on me so I could get busted, I don't know. All these things were just like, I was a mess, in my mind. Like mentally, I was a mess. But I had a grip on it because if not, I would have, did something stupid. But I think I called from the payphone. But I remember when I called him, he finally answers, and he's like, "Hey, this your new number?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but it was a payphone number. He's like, "Don't trip. We could talk. The line is clean." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, right. But all right, what's up?" And he's like, "Look, man, I know what I told you fucked you up, but you need to help me because if not, me and my wife are gonna end up dead." And that's why I was like, "Man, you know what? You take care of yourself, bro. I can't." And I just clicked on him and I just went back home. And then I heard he crossed back home into the U.S. A little bit short time after. So my life got peaceful again. But this dude pops up again on me right before I get arrested in 2016. Yeah, I got arrested in 2016. I knew he was back in town because he had got in trouble with the feds again. See, I didn't know this, but now I talk to his people, so I know I put all this shit together. I'm like, man. And even his people tell me, man, fool, you were in crazy danger. Like that fool was pressing the people to snatch you up badly. Like he wanted, $500,000 is $500,000. Man, fools be dying for $500 over there. $500,000 is a lot. And
why did him having you get killed?
He just wanted he just wanted some fucking satisfaction, some kind of payback.
But what did that have to do with the money?
Nothing. He by killing me. I mean, maybe what he was gonna try to do? Like kidnap me, torture me, have me call the U.S. and call my peoples, call the neighborhood or whatever, thinking that they would send some of it back or all of it, get it all back. That's what I'm thinking, But in the end result was gonna be the end result. That I wasn't gonna walk away from there. I doubt it because he knows. Conejo's a fucking ninja. This fool come back and get me. Like I would have to get rid of him. And if I do something to his daughter, this fool, what would you do if someone mess with your kids or you become a different person. You can't.
Yeah, man.
But in 2016 he was back over there, and one day I come home, but I didn't go into my street. I went to a street across the street. Because
in the U.S. or
no, over there in Mexico, and I didn't know I was already under surveillance. They were already watching me. I didn't know this, so I go across the street, and there was this truck parked in front of my house, and the dude that was there was a big dude. He was like a boss, and this fool responsible for over 200 murders or 300 murders. He's parked in front of my house. So again, I'm like, man. I tell the gardener. The security gardener / everything handyman from the street across. I'm like, hey, how long has that truck been right there? He's like 3 hours, 4 hours. He's just sitting there texting. But I had different cars, so they had probably told him this fool's in this. But I was in some soccer mom shit, So he didn't. And then I went into the other street. So my friend had a 3-story house, so I'm on the 3rd story just looking at the dude. He don't even know I'm watching him. I'm watching him, all that shit, and when I seen him, I knew that I was in danger again because that dude doesn't pop up. That dude be on the news. He was dangerous as fuck. Not because he'll do it, but he has the manpower to make some shit happen. Shortly after that, they came and they got me, and I ended up back over here in the U.S. They got me I think like 2 days after Thanksgiving, November 2016, I was gonna turn myself in January 2nd. But that was another thing because I hadn't told my daughter. By now my daughter's like 7. That shit, we were gonna get split up and we never been split up like that. Yeah. So that shit was like fucking with me. I couldn't even, I was just all fucked up. And it's crazy because 2 nights before I got arrested, that night, my daughter, see, by this time now her mom was back in the picture, you know, so we're like, you know, she'll stay some days with her mom, some like most of the time with me, some days with her mom. So I remember that night, my daughter came in, like 2 days before she came in, and she told me, "I love you, Daddy." She gave me a kiss and she went right back to her room. And then like 5 minutes later, she came back and she did it like 3 or 4 times in a row. She kept coming back and giving me a kiss and saying goodnight, "Love you, Daddy," and go back to her room. And I was like, what the fuck? I love this little girl. She's fucking dope. Like, where's this coming from? Like, we're tight, but she was just being like, you know, a little girl, you know, and that shit was fucking with me even more because I'm like, how am I gonna tell that we're about to be split up? How can I do this? And see, look, a month before, this would happen. I was in the back back of my house. I had this spot where I would do all my like rituals and stuff like that. I practice my spirituality, and I was back there. And my boy, the one that was in the feds, the one that invited me to Sweat for the first time, he was there with me. He would help me. So we're doing, and I'm doing like divination. I do a reading, and that shit tells me, that's it. Your time is up. It's time for you to go and face your issues. And I was like, hell nah, not yet. And I was like, what if I bring you, you know, I'm gonna bring you a goat, 2 roosters, and some animals, you know, because it's like animal sacrifice. And it was like, no, you're gonna go get me that anyways. It told me like, you're gonna go get me those animals anyways. And but don't worry, I got you. You'll be out. And I was, but see, you never know, because you know you as much as a believer you are, you're skeptical, you know, like or because just because of life, you know, life is like, it's tricky, you know, sometimes, and so you don't know what to expect. 2 weeks after that, this Cuban dude's down from Mexico City. He's this big santero, Oba. He's a priest, and he does me this ceremony where I receive this deity called Obatala, and then I receive Obatala. It's like a whole day ceremony, and he does a reading, and then this reading is everything's cool till he gets to the end, and he goes, "Oh shit! Someone who you thought was your friend was never your friend, and he's already betrayed you." So I'm like, what the fuck? So I didn't really have friends. So I'm like, is it the gardener? Is it my boy? Is it the fucking swimming coach? Is it the like I just had like a handful of people I really fuck with, you know? So I'm just like that shit was in my head and in my daughter. I was a mess. My boys ran a sweat for me. They knew there was this tattoo shop where they would hang out at, and I would go over there sometimes low key. And they're like, "Man, we're gonna run a sweat for you, so you could get your mind clear." But that was one of the hardest sweats I ever went to too, because I just had so much shit. Like, see, this 15 years, I got a lot of weight on my back. I haven't slept in 15 years. Wow. Like good night's sleep. I didn't sleep till I hit the fucking county, until I hit Wayside. You know, you go to the county process, it takes like 2 or 3 days, then you end up in Wayside. That's when I slept 3 days in a row. I didn't sleep in like 15. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I didn't sleep, but I slept like one night. You know, I was want to hear, so I was just like resting, but not like, unless I was fucking drunk or some shit, and I got fucked up and I knocked out. But
how did they come for you? Like, how when you're getting rid, like, how did that happen?
So my boy Chris, he's a santero too. He's a priest. He's an Oba in the Afro-Cuban religions. He's like, hey, there's these African dudes down here, and want to come to your pad and have a jam session and do like a ritual, but like with the drums, you know. And I love the drums. Like the drums, they like put me in a trance. So I'm like, yeah. So I start cleaning up my pad and everything, right? But for like a month, I started seeing cars because I had cameras across the street, all over the place.
And at this point, you're not really putting in any work for the cartel anymore, right? I mean,
I'm not. See, look, I was never like direct with the cartel. I was just always direct with dudes that got money, independent dudes.
However you could.
But I knew a lot of cartel dudes from different cartels. I knew you just get to know them, you know, or because they're even dudes flip a lot. Like he might be from this one for 3 years, and then oh, these ones are going down. These guys made you a deal. Now you're over there. So I might have known you being from 3 cartels and shit.
Right.
You know, so I'm on cruise control. I have plan B in the cut. That's all. I just want to like protect my daughter. Like anybody, like, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we just want to protect the ones we love, and that's
right.
it. And try to make it. And I was going to turn myself in. I'm in love with my girl. All these things are in my head, like feelings and emotions. And I'm getting older now. So I don't think the same. Now I'm like, so I'm cleaning. I got a big black trash bag, and it's a gated street, right? So the trash bin, you got to come out the gate, make a left, and it's over there. And then you got to unlock it, and then you throw it in and you lock it back up. So right before I was going to go, I'm like, nah, let me check the camera. So I get the iPad thing, and I start checking all the cameras, and there's a fucking car right there with 2 dudes sitting in it. And I'm like, and they don't know I have a camera right on top of them, so I could see straight down that they're texting and they're writing shit on a notepad. They're taking notes. I can't see what they're texting because it ain't like 4K like right now or 6K or whatever, but I could see what they're doing. So I'm waiting and waiting. I'm looking out the window. I'm just like, man, these motherfuckers won't leave. So like an hour passes by. I'm like, man, I'm tripping. I've been tripping for 15 years. It's probably nothing. I tell myself that. It's just the PTSD. So here I come with the trash bag. Right when I get to the gate, I buzz it open. And then I make that left, and then I look out the corner of my eye, and they're fucking looking at me like crazy. You know, I got my glasses on, but I'm like, all right, these fools are straight looking at me. So I don't even put the trash in the trash can. I just throw it by the side, and then I buzz it again so the gate starts closing, so that way I could get in case of anything. But this shit, as soon as I do that, from the click to me getting arrested is probably like 15 seconds, 10 seconds now. It's going already. It's about to happen. So as I come through the gate, I take about 1, 2, maybe 2 steps. I just see a big-ass Dodge Ram coming straight at me. Boom, it knocks the gate off the rail. So I jump out the way because it's a big-ass, and it's sort of like a little down slope. So the door's coming at me. The truck, that shit's flying at me. So when I jump out the way, the 2 fools in the car, they're already running towards me. Fool tackles me, and I hear him say, cuff his feet, he's going to kick. Because, like, I didn't mention this, but before, there's like a Mexican YMCA over there in TJ, right? And I had met this instructor. He was a Shito Ryu, Japanese karate do, and I had become his assistant instructor. I did Japanese karate almost 4 or 5 years. So I would like, we would teach all the like at-risk youth. That's how I felt like I was giving back, because these were all like hood kids. They had no money. These fools will come with like 20 pesos a month, which is equal to like $1. And I'll put the rest for them, or I'll do, you know, and I was buying all the headgear, you know, and like just pitching in for them because they were like street kids, you know. So I'm like, so these guys already had seen, they had this surveillance on me. They were watching me, tailing me, all that shit. So when they tackled me, I heard that. Cuff his feet, he's gonna kick. So they cuffed my feet when they tackled me to the ground, but then they like put all the, you know, guns on my head, don't move, like in Spanish, you know, don't move, motherfucker, will smoke your ass.
Were they American?
Nah, they were Mexican. Americans can't go in the U.S. like that. They can't have guns, and like the FBI could go in, but they can't have guns. They could just
watch.
I'm sure like for Chapo and them, they do go in, but they're dressed as Mexican Marines or Mexican military. Because if you see when they get like big time dudes, they're wearing ski masks. Mexican fools don't give a fuck, like whatever.
So what'd you feel? I mean, like what?
I thought it was the dude that was parked outside my house. I thought I was about to die. So they get me because it's like a kidnapping. They didn't show me no bad. It happened in an instant. It's like an explosion the way it happened. Boom. They snatch me up. They cover my head. I can't see. Throw me in the truck. They cuff my feet to the bottom of the truck so I can't jump out. And they're just holding my head down, and they're just like trying to like punk me like, man, don't move, you know, like, but in Spanish sound crazy, you know, like, te muevas a la verga, te mato, this and that, and then we're gone. And I could hear, you know, we're making left, by the way the engine revs up, and I know we're making lefts, rights, because I drove around there, so I know left, right, left. So I'm thinking, oh, they're going to take me to they're called casas de seguridad, like security, like cartel fools or cops have them, where they do all their dirty work. They'll take you to one of them pads and they'll go to work on you, you know. So I'm thinking, it's crazy because my boy that runs a sweat lodge, he would run them super hot. And I remember he told us one day, I run them like this so in case one day you guys get tortured, you guys can handle it. So that shit popped up in my head. Like, man, we're about to go to one of those pads. And I've been in them pads. I've seen what they do to people. I've seen what happens to, they drilling you, they fucking chainsawing you, you know, anything, scale saw you. A lot of shit happens to you, you know? And, but after a few minutes, whatever, I seen a packet on the floor of papers. You know, they uncover my head. I see the packet. I see my face right there. But it don't matter because the bad guys do intel on you too. So
Right.
you never know.
Don't mean shit.
But then that's when he told you, he's like, hey, in Spanish, he's like, what's up, Conejo? And I didn't like reply to him. And then he said my real name and I didn't reply to him. And then they're like, look, bro, like, we don't even give a fuck about you for reals. Like, the U.S. came over here. They hit us with the folder. He's there. Can you bring him to us now? We don't care about, because they don't. I knew cops over there that would catch fugitives. So I would always ask them questions. He's like, man, we don't give a fuck what the U.S. talking about. We do it when it's just like they already told on them, someone told on them, and it's obvious, and we got to get them and turn them over to the U.S. But these fools, honestly, the way they got me, and I was with them riding around in the truck, they didn't go and turn me in right away. These fools were scheming. They got all kinds of shit going on. Hey, meet us at the spot. Is everything ready? Like, this shit was like straight like training day. You know, when they're getting ready to hit that house, that where the one dude's at, that older dude, and they're getting ready and they meet somewhere. I was at a meeting point with them somewhere. I was just in the truck, but they're like meeting up, and I know the language. You know, not just saying Spanish, but the shit they don't care about me. So then, you know, they take you to their command center, whatever. And that's that picture where I'm like that with no shirt on. That's where they took that picture. But they were kind of cool because somewhere along there they let me make a phone call. I go, can I call my daughter? She's in school. And they're like, what's the number? And I don't know. And I gave them the name. They Googled it. They got the number. They called it. The principal answered. And I was like, yeah, yo soy el papá de Kay. Soy el papá de Kay. Me la pasa, por favor. So they went and got her. And then my daughter got on the phone. And I'm like, Mommy, something happened and the police got me. They're going to take me back to where grandma's at. And my daughter started screaming and crying. So, that shit like weakened me right there, you know, to hear her scream that way. Because I never heard her scream like that. That's like if you see a fucking ghost, like, some horror shit, and then crying. Her first initial reaction was scream and then cry, no, 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 no. And I told her, like, you know what? You're a big girl. Don't worry. Tell the principal to call your mom that you want to go home. And then I'm going to have grandma and I'm going to have your tia, they're going to call you. But relax, calm down. And she was listening to me. I calmed her down, but she was still crying, and that's what happened. And then they take you to the border. There's this long concrete walk where you're like, you know, your waist, you're shackled from the waist. You know, you're like, you do that walk. They always, every time they catch fugitives, you see them, they do that walk, and they turn you over to like ICE, Homeland Security, I think CBP, something Border Patrol. They're all right there. Fucking, they sit me down in the lobby. It was crazy because it was like regular people. They took all their shit from me. I'm just sitting there. I don't even think I was cuffed. And the dude's like, what's your name? And it's crazy because I didn't use my name in 15 years. And you know your social? And I'm like, yeah, hold on. And I was trying to remember how it goes. He's like, nah, there's nothing here. And I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm not even wanted. What the fuck? Maybe I feel stupid if I was on the run for 15 years and I wasn't wanted. What the fuck? And it's just, he just would sit there, want to see, and he was checking. An hour passed by. All of a sudden, he's like, oh, this guy needs to be over there. And they came and they cuffed me again. They cuffed me to a bench. And then I'm on this bench, and there was like a senior, like this old white dude, like one of those, like fucking a dick, you know? And then he comes in, he's like, what the fuck's this guy doing here? This dude needs to be in a cell already. This dude's not here for like some drunken public in Mexico. This needs to be in there. So that was the first cell I went into. Once I went into that cell, I was like, oh man, this is it. This is how it starts. Look at this shit. You know, fucking metal sink and toilet. You know what a cell looks like, you know. And I'm in there. I'm just like, fuck. Let me do some push-ups, because it was freezing. They had that AC blowing, so I'm like, and I had a hoodie and everything. And then like 2 hours later, LAPD, the Fugitive Task Force, pulls up. Like they were in Vegas, sitting on somebody, trying to catch somebody within Vegas, and they got the call, hey, we got Conejo. So they smashed all the way to TJ, and they came and they just like picked me up. And then we drove to 77th Division.
Oh.
Wow.
So we're fucking, I remember we're driving on I think it was the 5, maybe the 805, I don't know, one of those. But I remember I'm just like looking at all these like Red Robin, Carl's Jr. I'm just seeing all this shit on the way there. I'm in the little like minivan with one chair, and there's one chair in the back, and the dude's in the back, and he's just like, hey, don't fuck around. Let's just make it a smooth ride. But I'm like cuffed like this, so I can't do nothing, you know, really. And in my head, I'm like, you know, like, it was kind of like, almost like a sign of relief. Like, that was just so many years of all that weight on me, you know. So it's just like, I wasn't happy, but I was just like nostalgic, that drive. Because we made it from over there to 77th in 1 hour. Wow. They were smashing. We were like a caravan, like 3 cars. And you know, right there in San Clemente, they got that other little checkpoint right there.
Yeah.
That shit's never fucking open. I mean, that shit's never closed. Like, they were out there that day. So we pulled up. They flashed their lights. They did some kind of symbols. Flashed the badge. You're like, go, 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 go. Boom. We get to 77th Division. Cold-ass night. I remember it was cold. It was chilly. One of those, like, it was November. So it was kind of, you know, like that cold air. 77 is fucking wild. You step in there and I'm just like, it's a fucking crackhead about to get processed next to me. Like all these weird ass dudes and shit. And the process starts, you know. I finally end up in a cell by myself. I'm like, can I use the phone? They brung me down. I only knew one number because, you know, I memorized my girl's number. So I call it. She gives me a couple other numbers. I start calling. They put me in like a little tank at 77. So I'm calling any number I can. Hey, do me a 3-wheel. Call it. Give me a number or whatever. I go back to my cell. You know, I think it's becoming the next day, or it does become the next day. And they're like, hey, we're going to clean your cell. We're going to move you to this other cell. So I had a boy that he was on the run 20 years. They had caught him 2 months before me. Off of Adams, too. Mm-hmm. Like Adams and, you know, Maple and, you know, all those right there. And when they took him to 77, there's a thing called Perkins. They'll put an informant in your cell with you. It's like a tactic they use, Perkins. I don't know if it made a big deal because in Orange County they were using it. So they put an informant in there and they asked him all these questions, and this fool ended up talking to about his case he might have been a straight LAPD. But they put me in a cell with a dude that has all his arms full of tracks. He's a heroin addict. He has fucking track marks all over his arms. And they put me in there, and I got a hoodie on. I still got my street clothes. And then, you know, like the first thing he asked me, he's like, what you in here for, rape? He tells me like, I'm going to fuck this fool up. I'm like, what? But I already knew, like, okay, the camera's right there. You know, they could hear the speakers on the wall. I'm like, this is where the setup starts. And I'm like, what? Oh, no. I apologize, whatever. He says some shit because he's seen that I like, kind of like, I'm about to stomp him out. And then he starts asking me about people. Like, he didn't know who I was. I didn't introduce myself to him because I was like, the fuck, this was a smoker. What the fuck I'm going to tell him who I am or anything, give him any info, you know? He's nobody to me. And then he starts bringing up people that I know. He's like, hey, you know your homeboy this? And I'm just like, what? How you know him? And then he's like, yeah, you know, he sells dope over here on this street. He starts telling me he's throwing all these things out, you know? And I'm like, oh, is that right? All right, cool. I'm not answering none of his shit. Well, when I was at 77, my attorney already had came to see me. It was already in place, everything. So he's like, man, just, you know, fall back, chill. Don't talk to nobody about your case. I'm on it already. Don't worry about it. I might not make it to the first court date, so don't freak out if you don't see me there. So I go to that first court day, and I have a public defender. It's a lady. And I tell her, hey, do I get bail? And she's like, nah, there's no bail for death penalty cases. And that shit's another out-of-body experience. That shit fucked me up, you know? She's like, there is no bail for those type of cases. And everybody in the tank's like, oh, shit. Like, everybody's just quiet, like, oh, because, you know, there was homies in there, you know, that I ended up running into him later. You might know, I'll tell you, you know them. He's an old school homie. You might know him. Because he was in the feds. And then he knew me already. Everybody, when I stepped in the county, everybody knew me.
Your name carried his weight.
Yeah,
That's
so they
all.
were just like,
So
man,
they
what's
knew
up,
what it was.
Rabbit? You know, whatever. And then, you know, and that, it was kind of strange for me too, because like I said, I haven't used my real name, Jose, in 15 years. I've been this, I've been that, I've been all these other names. And now I'm back to like, I'm Jose again. And then when I was on the run, I'll never tell nobody I was from Harpies or they call me Conejo, Rabbit, whatever from Harpies. Never. I'll just, because there was informants over there, you know, that would trade info to get their green cards to come back to the U.S. or, you know, like there was a lot of like that going on. So I go back now from court, you go to the county, and that's when you get processed into the county. And I get to the county and everybody's like the same thing. Man, this fool's like, oh shit, fucking Rabbit's right here with us or whatever. And everybody's like, man, you're going to go to high power. They're not going to keep you in like GP. You're going to go up there. And I'm like, man, I'm not, that's it again. I'm like, I'm not a celebrity like that. I'm just like you guys. I'm just a regular homie. Ain't no like, I don't feel like a celebrity or none of that shit. And nothing happened. I end up, you know, you go in the county for like 2 or 3 days. They moving you up and down and this. Then they ship me out to Wayside, Supermax. And that's when I knocked out for like 3 days. I was just tired. I was just super tired. I just slept for like 3 days. I just get up to eat and go right back to sleep. And the homies were like cool with it, you know, because you're not supposed to like sleep in the day, you know.
Yeah.
But they knew I had came from like basically like war, you know. I needed some rest, and that was it. I stayed in there for like a year and a half, fighting. As a matter of fact, I never left arraignment. I went home from arraignment. I never went to preliminary. They just postponed for a year and a half. And then one day I went to court, and my attorney, shout out to Stuart Goldfarb. See, it's crazy because I'll call Dave, right? I was calling Dave from the county. So I called Dave one day.
And how do you know? How did you
We're
know
from the
Dave?
same neighborhood. And Dave grew up like 2 blocks away from me.
Okay, and so you knew Rich and you knew all the guys.
Yeah. I used to train with Rich, all that, everything.
Like, when did you first meet him? Because he didn't grow, like, he moved there from foster care, right? Like, did he grow up down there?
He grew up like his later teenage years,
Later
but he's older than me.
Yeah.
But I just see Dave walking down like he was like, Dave was banged out back then. Honestly, Dave, you'll see Dave, a white guy with a pen. But see, look, this is the thing. In the neighborhood, there's a family of brothers. They're a white family, and they were all from Harpies. Somehow, I don't know why, but I always thought Dave was, maybe he's from there. He's from one of those brothers. All these fools had blue eyes. But all these fools end up like, fools got life and everything. They were all banged out. But I was just assumed Dave was a dude that just walked by. Like, I see him. I was a little kid, you know, so I see these faces. You know, later we connect later as I'm older, you know, and then, but like I said, I'll call Dave from the county, right? And this was like 6 months before I went home. I didn't know I was going home. I'm fighting life now. Now the death penalty's off. Now it's just life. So I called Dave, and Dave's like, hey, if you could come home before April, you're on Family Crimes, my new series. He's telling me this shit, and I'm like, bro, they're trying to give me life. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it home by April. But it's crazy because I came home in February. Like, I came home before even that, you know, and I, you know, I used to call him and shit, whatever. And then, so one day my attorney visit, like unexpectedly, and I'm like, oh shit, I got my shit. Went to the attorney visit, to the visiting room. Now I was in Medium North. I only stayed in Supermax, I would say, if it wasn't a month, it was 2 months. 2 court dates at the most. And then they shipped me to Medium North. It's still in the LA County Jail, but it's called Medium North. And then, so he came to see me, and he goes, I got good news and I got bad news. And I was like, man, just tell me the bad news. And he's like, they just offered you 3 years. And I'm like, that's bad news? That's good news. Because I already been here a year and a half. I would only do like another 15 months and I'm home. I'm like, I'm taking it. He's like, nah. The good news is that tells me I could beat this shit. I could get you a way better deal, or I could beat this shit. And he always had told me, he's like, they have a marginal case at best against you, you know? And I was never like cocky about it. It felt a little bit good, but I never like I'm winning. I never, cause there's dudes that felt like that. And I remember there was this dude in there. He was from Hoover. I want to say they called him Rat Boy, old school dude. This dude had went proper and beat a murder case.
Wow.
And then they charged him with another one. He's an old dude too. But he was like a fucking lawyer. And he ended up in my dorm. But my dorm was a neighborhood dorm, I think. It was like the 60s or 30s. It was like that's the Crips that were in there. So everybody would go to him and kind of like get some like legal advice from him. And I remember I had told him, I had like sat down with him, I brought him some offerings, like, look, I'm gonna tell you my case, what you think? And he's like, man, you going home. Maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but you going home. I'm like, all right, cool. So, but still, I never took anything for granted. I just try to stay humble, stay out of the way, and you know, like, you know, just be respectful and just be quiet and just, you know, do my shit and focus on my case. And so the attorney goes and he tells me that. And I'm like, nah, I'm just going to take those 3 years. And he's like, nah, he doesn't. And you know, he's Jewish, you know. And I was like, I always feel like Jewish attorneys, they're the best, you know. They're like, that's God's chosen people and shit. Like, you know, and at one point, he's really from like the East Coast. So he'd be like, shalom, babe. And I'd be like, shalom. You know, he like would pound on the glass. And then, nah, I'm taking them. He was arguing with me. I'm like, no, it's my shit. I'm going to take it. So then, you know, me and my girl are making plans and shit. Like, look, we're over there like calculating. If I take the 3 years and then I'm going to have like this much time. But if I do this one little program, they're going to knock off so maybe I could get out of there in 11 months, 10 months. The day before I go to my last court date, I call him. Stu, I'm taking that deal. Jose, you're not. Yeah, I am. We're like going back and forth. I'm taking that deal. And he's like, no, we're not bumping heads, but we're just like a little tug of war, right? So I get to court the next day, right? See, court's at like 9. I always be the first guy in court. CCB, I was in a division, I think 31 or 33, I'm not sure. And I would always be the first guy because I had a real attorney. All the public defender guys, like, they might be in that tank for 5 hours before they see him, or 3 hours or some shit, right? So he comes in, shalom, all that, shalom. And then he's like, hey, I got you a better deal. You'll be home by 7 p.m. tonight. I'm like, what? The whole tank was like boom, like, and I'm like, what is it? Well, we're going to plead you down to voluntary manslaughter. We're going to give you a 6-year sentence, suspended, and 5 years probation. And I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So I came out to court, and the judge like, you sure you want to take this deal? I'm like, yeah. My mom and my sister, like, my mom's crying. My mom can't even believe. My mom's telling my sister, like, ¿Qué dijo? And my sister's like, he's going to come home today. And my mom's crying. And my sister's like jittery, like, my sister, the one I talked about before, my oldest sister. Yeah. So then, you know, we go under CCB. I pop out in courtroom, I think like 50, 51, 55, one of those. And it feels different now. The tank is warm. Like, everything changed. I almost feel the sunlight. Like, I'm like, if everything feels happy, like, the judge is nice. I mean, not that the judge was fucked up before, but it's different now. And it's crazy because there was this lady, she used to write me. She was like Victory Outreach Christian lady. But she was like fucking psychic or prophetic or some shit. She told me, you're going to go home your next court date. And you know, I was like, all right, cool. Okay, it's cool. Hopefully, you know, like, God, you know, like, hearing you. And then it was crazy because there was this satanic dude in our dorm. He was a homie. He's kind of a J-cat. He was cool though, you know, but he was just like off, but he was like a satanic dude. And he was in there because he did a crime, did some robberies. And he was like, I guess, wanted. And I think they caught him in a park somewhere doing a ritual and shit on the floor. Some weird case. It was a weird case. But he was entertainment. So I'll go fuck with that fool, you know, talk to him, hear some stories, whatever. And that fool told me, you're going to go home in 3 court dates. But this before that lady told me that.
Damn.
I went home on the third court date from when he told me. So whatever, they put me back in the tank. Tank's packed. This before everybody starts going back to Medium South, Medium North, Supermax, wherever they're housed at. So it's the court tank is packed. It gets hot in there, be fucking smelling, and everybody's talking. It's loud. You hear, wow, you can't even hear shit, And I there's a payphone in there, and I go call my boy. And then they start splitting up. They start taking you to another tank, this tank, that tank. And then I told Jay, I called my boy Jay, that's it, fool. I signed. I'll be home tonight. Woo, shit, it's on. We can do this shit now. Because, we've been, like the whole time I was on the run, like, I'll be on the internet, all that shit. I'll see everything. I'm telling you, when you guys were doing Fury, Dave reached out to me. He reached out to my people to get at me. Because he had 2 nightmares where I was getting chopped up in pieces. And I called the UK. You guys were I called the set while you guys were on the set. So that's what I'm saying. I'll see you or Shia or any of the homies that are actors in movies or doing. Even though I didn't know any of you guys, but it'll make me feel homesick. Because I feel like, man, if I could be there, I could fuck with you guys, Even my boy Prayers and Cat Von D. Yeah. Like I used to watch them separate, and I just be like, man, if I could just be there, I know I could fuck with these people, and I'm not a fucking like scary dude, I don't think, or intimidate or nothing. I feel like I'm pretty chill and laid back that, so I'm in that tank, they start splitting people up, and then there was a dude that was in my dorm, and I had stacks of pictures, like I have fans, I used to get mail from all over the world, from fans that were just writing me. I used to get mail every day, like,
because when you're there, you're like, your music is already
it's been out.
Yeah, it's been out.
I got like 60, 70 albums,
Right.
80 albums out. So everybody knows my booking information is on the internet. So people are writing me, and I had stacks of books. I left probably like $500 worth of books on my bunk when I left. Because I was, what you want to read, and I want to read anything. Like I was getting books on the occult and religious books and this and that and about just like poetry and everything. And I would get books just to give them away. I would get like a easy read that's like that I always loved was The Alchemist.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
and it just like would touch my heart, and I would read it over and over, and I want to bless somebody with it. I'm like, look, this shit's gonna save you. This is the fucking truth right here. So I'll give that book to somebody, and another book that I read several times that I love was The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, wow.
Dumas. So I love that book. He came back, got his, even though he dies at the end, I don't like that part, but but like just the whole shit, like how he was like on some caveman shit. He goes to that jail, he gets schooled, he learns all this stuff, and he comes back a new man, like with new intentions, even though they were kind of like, spiteful and revenge. He wanted that revenge, but I just love that book, and I would like recommend, man, I'll give you this. Anybody, like if you're like cool with me, then and I felt like you're worthy of this book, and you're not just gonna fucking hit up in it and shit and start tagging all in, and that's it. So so the dude in the dorm, I told him, look, all my store, because I used to go to the store, I'm fat every day. I had bags of fucking food under my bed, like which is all bad for you, which is all salt or sugar. There's like nothing. I mean, the seafood has a gang of salt in it, and the sweets was sweets. I told him, all my store, give it to this homie. All my books, give it to this homie. All lifers, all people that were fighting life, and then all my pictures go to this homie. And then whatever is, you guys split up, whatever, I'm out of here. To all the homies that stay up and much love. Thank you for everything, you guys, because the homies, they looked out for me in there, They showed a lot of love, like, not that I got any special treatment, because I won't accept special treatment. They were kind, and I did have like little perks and shit, but because I was always like straightforward, and I was a team player, and I was just, I wasn't, nothing ever went to my head, and I never felt like, so then the tank's just getting smaller. Now they changed me to another tank. It's a fucking little tank right there in CCB. It's one of those little ones at the end of the hallway. And I'm right there, and now it's like, there's two dudes, two Mexican dudes. And one's like, hey, bro, you're Conejo? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, man, it's my birthday today, dog. Can I get a signature, an autograph? And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I signed this little, you know, that little pink release paper.
Yeah.
I signed this orange charge paper.
Yeah, property shit.
Yeah, I signed that shit. And then they leave. So I'm like, okay, now it's like, there's an Asian dude who's G'd up, black dude. And no one's talking. So it's like, this is the last. If some shit's gonna pop off, this is it. So everybody's quiet. No one's talking. The Asian dude's not talking. I'm not talking. Black dude's not talking. Everybody's just quiet. And everybody's like low-key, like checking each other out. Like, cause you know, you never know, you know? And everybody's a G in there. Everybody's a gang member in there. So everybody's just like watching each other's moves. Black dude leaves. They called him out. Now it's me and the Asian dude. So we're just like, this fool got long hair, shit's braided. It's probably from Long Beach. I don't know. I didn't ask him, you know, but he's probably from, you know, he's probably Cambodian. That's what I'm thinking. Cause he's banged out, like tatted up, face tats, everything. We're just quiet. And boom, they call him out. I'm in there by myself. Now it's like 6 o'clock. Court's over. I should have been out. But they had told me, I didn't know I was going to be the last guy. So I'm like, man, the phone doesn't work in there. It's freezing. I'm just like, fuck. And then finally they call me out. And they release me and they give you a little ticket. Like a ticket. The paper, your release paper is actual a ticket. And I just seen it, you know, it said 187 on it. And here's sign right here. And I signed it. And then now in the county you have Crocs. So I got the homies Crocs. I gave them the little fake cross trainers, the little fake Air Maxes they got in there.
Yeah.
They're cool though. They look fresh when they're brand new. They're white and crispy and then you change into a paper jumpsuit. It's like a black paper jumpsuit and the black Crocs. And then it's like a garage door, but it's the big one where the buses come through. That shit goes up, and then my sister, my girl, were right there.
Wow.
And then that's it. You know, I hugged them, and then I'm like, call my daughter. So that's the first thing I want to do. I want to talk to my daughter. So they FaceTime her, right? And my sister's like, hey, somebody wants to talk to you, and they put it on me like this, and she starts crying, and she's like, why are you guys playing with me? She thought that I was a cardboard cutout.
Oh.
She said that. Why would you guys do a cardboard cutout of my dad? Why would you guys play like that with me? And she's crying, and I'm like, I start talking to her. I'm like, nah, mommy, that's me. Sid, I just got out. I'm out. And then we just both started crying. You know, like, I love you, daddy. I love you, mommy. And then went to the pad. Little barbecue was waiting for me. And then my girl, she's from Ventura, so. Gotta go. I'm from Ventura now. So I came out here and you know, it seemed like fucking, I was in the Midwest somewhere in the middle. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I remember we got off on one exit. Like, we do that Santa Rosa road, that back one when you get off the 118 to the 26 or
126. Right?
Yeah, you get off somewhere right there by Moore Park in the back. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Country, bro.
I just feel like that. I feel like that when you're out of your comfort zone. That I'm like, damn, like, we gonna even have neighbors in this?
How am I gonna do this? Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah. But you know, and then it just felt weird a little bit. But then the next day, I had to go to the county and get my property, which was fucking. I didn't want it. I just wanted this. This is it's called. It's your mano de rula. It's from the ceremony. It's a ceremony you do the 3-day ceremony. I didn't want nothing. I just wanted my mano de rula. And then so I had to go see probation. They were still over there on Crenshaw and Exposition, yup. So I went to go see her. She was cool as fuck. Went back to the county. I have no ID. I don't have anything. My wife had got me a birth certificate. So I go to the county. They don't want to give me my shit because they don't believe that's me. And I'm telling them, like, but it was enough for, like, the FBI, and it was enough for them to know it's me. Why is it not enough for you? Well, we need to see it. I don't have an ID. I've been a fugitive 15 years. I don't have anything. This is all I have. You know what? I didn't even have the birth certificate yet. I have anything. I just had that paper, that little sign-out paper, and some probation papers, and then they gave me my shit back, and that's it. And I called Dave. No, it took me like 2 or 3 days to get a cell phone. And I hit up Dave, and he's on the East Coast, and he's like, hey, I'll be back in a week. I'm going to go pick you up. All right, cool. Week later, Dave shows up. Him and fucking, what's his name? Anthony. Now that I know, him and Anthony came. And fucking, they picked me up, go to this Mexican restaurant. Dave's on fucking phones, making deals, trying to make shit happen. All this shit's going on. And I'm like, what's up? And he goes, oh, we got this movie. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, you're going to be in it. I'm like, all right, cool. He goes, I remember I told him, what's my name going to be in the movie? He's like, Conejo. And I'm like, oh, shit, cool. But I already had been telling Dave, like, about the Afro-Cuban religions, about, like, intricate workings of the things that I seen, that could help him in the script, So they kind of injected that into the tax collector. And he was just like, here, go see fucking, what's her name? Ivana Chubik.
Yeah.
Go see her. Show up at this address. We're going to be fucking rehearsing for a few months. Come here every day. And that's it.
Did you enjoy it?
Did all that shit.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I remember we were rehearsing, right? At first, it was just me and Bobby. Me, Bobby, and Cynthia. And as time went on, like, another cast member came on, which was that, what's her name? Chelsea. But I remember the day Shia walked in. I was kind of starstruck a little bit. Not starstruck like, because, but he walked in and he was bald. This fool, his head was shaved. And then he had some Levi's, and the way they were folded, that's how skinheads do it. So I'm like, this fool must be on a fucking skinhead movie or some shit.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And he walked in like, Shia, he's him, And he looked at me and he's like, heard about you, whatever.
Yeah.
And what up, bro? Boom, boom. We shook hands. And then they started running the scene when they're driving in the car, him and Bobby. And I was just like, damn, I was kind of intimidated by them because, like, these motherfuckers are real actors. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just better shut the fuck up and peep game and soak it up as much as I can, because I know Dave's going to call on me right now and tell me to say something or something. I'm going to be like, and I got to and then, more people started the rehearsal started getting bigger. And then I remember one day, I see George Lopez walk in, and I was kind of the same like Shia, like kind of starstruck. I'm like, man, this motherfucker's bigger than he looks, he looked big to me, fucking little black tuxedo and shit. I'm like, oh, this fool's looking spiffy and shit. Mm-hmm. He walked in and that fool told me the same shit. He shaked everybody. He knew, I think, everybody. He's like, Conejo. Like, fuck you. You killed me in the movie or some shit. And then he just shook my hand. He was cool. And then that's it. And from there, like, just everything, like all these things started happening. And, and then so, Bobby, I got close with him. And there was a lot of ties, because Bobby's, his family and his grandpa and the area, and then Dave. It was like fucking West Adams was like running shit. Like we were in the fucking building. Like it felt good,
I bet.
It felt like good. Like even though I don't know, I known about Bobby for years. I just never met him. I know about him. I know his whole shit. But everything happens for a reason, and everything happens at the right place at the right time. So my story is a story of perseverance, and even though I felt like giving up 100 times, but I kept that shit going. And that's why when like dudes like step to me and they're like, hey, I'm like, man, fuck out of here with that shit. Like, man, I had all kinds of adversity. I kept it going, and I had went against the odds, and so there's no excuse,
it's hard to accept excuses from people that got the sad stories, right?
Yeah, like, hey, hook me up. I'm the shit. I'm
exactly.
Like, man, everybody's the shit. Everybody is the shit, but just, you got to I don't know.
Grind.
You got to grind and just, work hard. And I ain't made it. I'm out here just like.
Still
climbing. But I'm enjoying the journey. It's cool. Acting, I think is cool because it's not like the music. It's sort of like the music. It's still an art, but I could tell like different shit, and I could show them like, I got a lot of life experience in a lot of different areas that probably a lot of people don't have, so.
Man, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, man.
I swear, man. Oh.
Yep.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I just appreciate you being so open, man, and sharing everything with us. And
that shit was kind of painful the whole way through it.
Exactly.
You know, no, I had good times. Like I said, life is life, and I had beautiful times over there. And I feel like as far as the music, that's where I found my voice over there, because, you know, I just had so much content, so much shit to talk about, and all the shit that was going on, and I miss home so much, and, you know, I found my voice over there, and a lot of things, you know, I didn't believe in, I mean, I believed in God, but I didn't believe in him like I believe in him now, you know, the gods, my ancestors, you know, all these things, and whatever, you know, I wasn't fucking reading shit over here. I read like close to 300 books.
It took me to lose my firstborn son, Donte Jr., and 15 years in a federal pen before I picked up a Bible and really tried to get an understanding, man. So, you know, everybody got their moment, man. But I think the most important thing here is, you know, the change you made through all that, you know, through, you know, look what you went through, and look what you are, you know. And I think that's the most important part. I think that's what I want people to get out of your story, man, that it ain't no excuses. You know, I think it's very important that you share that, man. I appreciate you coming, man.
Man, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, man. That was an honor, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.